Okay, so I want to talk about the harder kind of factorizing questions that you might see on the worksheet. And these are the questions that look something like this. You've got a squared plus 5a, and you're told to factorize it. Okay, so this is a bit harder because before we were thinking about blocks and sorting things in, sorting blocks out into different piles. But this is a bit more tricky because how many piles can I sort a squared plus 5a into? Well, it's a little bit tricky because I don't know what a actually is. So I don't really know what a squared is. So what we'll do is I'm going to start by giving a bit more of a concrete example, and then we'll come back to looking at questions like this. So let's think of it like this. Let's do 2 squared plus 5 times 2. Okay, so you might notice straight away that this expression on the right hand side is very similar to this, except instead of using a, I've used 2. Okay, so instead of writing a squared, I've written 2 squared, and instead of writing 5 times a, which is what 5a refers to, I've written this. And when you look at it like this, and I ask you what is the common factor between 2 squared and 5 times 2, what number can I divide both 2 squared and 5 times 2 by? You might say, well, sir, I can see there's a 2 in both terms. So the sort of obvious thing to put outside the bracket would be the 2, right? There's a 2 here, this is 2 times 2. There's a 2 here. So it would make sense that 2 is a factor of both terms. So we're going to fill in our brackets. What is 2 squared divided by 2? Okay, I'm hoping you're answering this. 2 squared is 4, so 4 divided by 2 would be 2. And what is 5 times 2 divided by 2? Well, it's 5. And again, I think that's quite obvious because 5 times 2 divided by 2 just leaves you with the 5. And we can check. What I'm suggesting to you is that this here is exactly the same as this up here. So why don't we just verify that I'm actually correct? Let's just work out what this top expression is. 2 squared is 4. 5 times 2 is 10. So 4 plus 10 is 14. So what we want to make sure is that this thing that I've written here is also 14. And again, if you follow your order of operations, you might be able to say, well, I know that 2 plus 5 is 7. 2 times 7 is equal to 14. And oh, would you know it? It's right. And the two expressions are correct. Okay, what algebra is getting at is we use algebra when we want to say something's true all the time. When we call it generalizing. So I've used 2 as an example here, but what I'd like to suggest to you is that this would work whether I use 2 or whether I used, well, any number. So I'm going to do this again. Okay, I'm going to write 2 squared plus 5 times 2, but I'm going to choose a different number. I'm going to choose 10. Okay, I'm just pulling a number out of thin air there. So 10 squared plus 5 times 10. Okay. Okay, what is a common factor between 10 squared and 5 times 10? 10. 10 is here, 10 is here, 10 is a factor of both. Okay, what is 10 squared divided by 10? Well, it's just 10. What is 5 times 10 divided by 10? Okay. And if what I'm saying is true, I'm claiming that these two things are true. Let's just work it out. What is 10 squared? Well, it's 100. 100 plus 50 is 150. Is that the same as 10 plus 5 is 15? 15 times 10 is, oh, it's 150. So I've done 2 examples now, and both times it's worked. What I started with and what I factorized it to are actually equal to each other. So this is where the algebra comes in. Okay, and again, we've done 2 examples using, numbers that you recognise. So let's do it with algebra. A squared plus 5a, what is the highest common factor of a squared plus 5a? Well, I see an a here and an a here. So a is a common factor. 2 squared divided by 2 is 2. 10 squared divided by 10 is 10. A squared divided by a is a. 5 times 2 divided by 2 is 5. 5 times 10 divided by 10 is 5. 5 times a divided by a is 5. That is me factorise that expression. Okay? And again, I hope that linking it to these concrete examples here makes sense. But what we've done is we've proved that this is true all the time because we don't even know what a is, but we've proved that it's true. Let's do another one. And so this one will look slightly different because I'm going to choose a completely different question. So this time I'm going to choose b squared plus 33b. What is the highest common factor between b squared and 33b? B. I see a b here, I see a b here. What is b squared divided by b? What is a squared divided by a? It's a. What is 10 squared divided by 10? It's 10. What is b squared divided by b? It's b. What is 33b divided by b? Okay. 5 times 2 divided by 2 is 5. 33b divided by b is 33. We've factorised it. Okay. Right. One more easy one, then one hard one, and then I'll leave you be. So let's have a look. C squared plus 1327c. Can you tell me what the answer is? Do you agree that's a common factor? Do you agree that c squared divided by c is c? Do you agree that 1327c divided by c is, you guessed it. Okay, so let's just have a look at kind of the hardest this could really look. This would be where you get something like this. So I'm thinking we've got 5a squared plus 20a. Now, this is a little bit different, but I hope that to start with, you're willing to say, right, I see an a here, I see an a here. Sir, I'm going to put an a right outside this bracket, because we agree that I see an a here and an a here. An a is part of both terms, so an a is a common factor. But what you might also spot is that 5 and 20 also have a common factor, and that common factor would be 5. And by that I mean the biggest number I can divide 5 and 20 by is 5. So what's going to happen is I'm actually going to take 5a out as a factor because both 5 and a are common to both. Okay, so we've got 5a. So now we just ask, okay, what is 5 divided by 5? It's 1. What is a squared divided by a? It's a. So this would be 1a. And just remember, I just write that as a. What would 20a divided by 5a be? Okay, well, what's 20 divided by 5? 4. What's a divided by a? 1. So this would be 4 times 1. Now, I don't need to write 4 times 1 because 4 times 1 is just 4. Okay? Don't worry too much if this one was a bit of a stretch, because really what I need you to be able to do is this. But if you feel a bit more confident, by all means have a go at this. So I will just end with just one more of a similar structure here. So here I'm going to do 16a squared, and I'm going to add, I think I'm going to add 8a. I'll do this a bit quicker, but again, see if you can follow this. A is a common factor. Now, there's a few common factors. 2, I can divide both by 2, I can divide both by 4, but in fact, 8 would be the largest factor. 16 divided by 8 is 2. A squared divided by A is A. 8A divided by 8A, well, 8 divided by 8 is 1. A divided by A is 1. And that would be your answer. Okay, so there you go. That's what the sort of harder questions look like on the sheet that I've given you.